This is Lab Golf's Link.1 putter, and this is their latest DF3 putter. And in today's video, we're taking these putters on the golf course to compare them and put them in a head-to-head competition to see which one comes out on top. So let's get right into it. Right guys, so if you've been following TEJ or just the golf equipment industry in general, you'll know that Lab Golf has been on an absolute tear in the last few years with their technology and their putter models. These putters have been spotted in the bags of many top tour pros. Adam Scott is using the DF1 Max. Phil Mickelson just recently put a DF3 in play, and it seems like anytime I walk into a golf store, people are talking about these, testing them, and frankly buying them up. Now basically how these putters work is they have zero torque or zero bias in twisting, unlike a toe up, toe down, or face balance style putter. These putters stay perfectly square to whichever arc that they are swung on by the player. Now Lab Golf has 5 different models within their lineup. The DF2.1, which pretty much looks like a starship to most people. The Link.1, which is going to be a much more traditional blade shape. The DF1 and DF1 Max, which are more mid-mallet style putters. And now recently, they have just added their latest DF3 putter. Now the reason DF3 has left a lot of people intrigued is because it is basically a slimmed down version of the putter that started it all, the Lab Golf DF2.1. So in today's video, we are taking the latest DF3 and putting it in a head-to-head match play on course 9-hole putting competition against the more traditional looking Lab Golf Link.1 to see which one comes out on top. How we're going to work through this is we have 9 randomized lengths of putts selected from 6 to 50 feet, and on each hole we're going to switch off which one of these putters starts first. Really just trying to keep this testing as fair as possible, and as per usual with these videos, the specs on both of these putters are pretty much the exact same. From there, I'll talk you through the differences I'm noticing between these models, and hopefully by the end of this video you have a good idea which one of these putters is going to work best for your game. All that said guys, we're out here on the golf course now, so let's get into testing. In order to see which one goes first, we'll flip a tee for it. I got that a little bit more to the left, so we're taking DF3 to start, and we're gonna see what we can do. 25 footer here, uphill, a little bit right to left. So looking down at DF3, I really like the shape of it. To me, it's a lot more compact compared to the DF2.1. It's a lot more pleasing to the eye. I think it's probably pretty in line with a TaylorMade Spider size shape. Maybe not quite that small, but actually pretty decently close to that size. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and try to make this thing. Ugh, I didn't hit it. All right, got to knock in a 2.5 footer here to start. A little knee knocker. All right, easy money. All right, now moving on to Link.1, taking a look down at this thing, just a much more traditional shape. Obviously, this is not gonna look like your answer to Newport 2 style blade, but it's, in terms of the Lab Golf lineup, it's very classic, very traditional. I've liked the shape of it. You know, it's funny, both of these putters, even though they're very different in terms of how they look, I actually really like the shape of both of them, just in different ways. That's it. All right, firmed it. Knock this thing in, and we will be all square through one. Alrighty guys, hole number 2, downhill left to right, or about 14 feet is what we had randomized. We're gonna start with Link.1 because we started with DF3 on the last hole. Talked about looks on the last hole, obviously this being a lot more traditional. With the Link.1, where it starts to get interesting is the alignment aids. So what I think is really important with the Lab Golf putters is making sure you select the correct alignment aids. The putters don't wanna twist during the stroke, so it's very important that you get them lined up properly to your target. Now with DF3, you have a lot more options in terms of alignment aids. The alignment aids are a little bit bigger. With the Link.1, because the top line is so thin, the alignment aids tend to be really small. But the way I have these set up, both lines are pretty similar length. This one's just in the flange, and that one is a little bit closer to the face. Downhill left to righter, playing it maybe 18 inches out. That's big. That's big for Link.1. All right, DF3's got to match it. Now, I've kind of preferred Link.1 because on putts like these and the fact that it's a little bit more of a traditional blade shape, I feel like I have a little bit better control over speed. But I'll tell you what, I seem to have kind of been preferring the feel of DF3 off the face. So I'm curious to see if I actually end up preferring the feel of DF3 long term. Kind of what we're going to find out here. Let's see if I can knock this in. Maybe I'm just a good putter, guys. Alrighty, guys, hole number 3. We got 21 feet on this hole approximately, downhill, a little bit right to left, and we're gonna see what we can do. All square in this match. Good match so far. You know, the more I look down at DF3, the more I like it. It's just not a big head, but you feel like you can really miss this kind of all over the face, and you're gonna have tons of forgiveness through the impact zone. It's just not really gonna twist quite as much as Link.1. Didn't hit it, kind of misread it. All right, Link.1's gonna have an opportunity to go up. You know, the one thing I do notice with DF3 is I tend to lose a little bit of feel because there's so much mass back in the head. It seems like I tend to struggle controlling the actual length of the putt. Hopefully that makes sense. But nonetheless, Link.1, good opportunity to go up here in the match. Doesn't break as much right to left as I thought. Oh, that's big. You know, it's so funny about Link.1 is I really have enjoyed this putter. The one real struggle I've had with this thing is the grooves. For some reason, I mean, I seem to be making putts today, but for some reason I've noticed over time, I tend to catch putts maybe on a groove or in between a groove, and it comes off with slightly different speed than I'm used to, and that's been maybe a skosh frustrating. So the one thing I wish Lab Golf would do with Link.1 is offer some different face options, maybe a fully milled face, a smooth face, and the grooves to allow people to choose different options that are gonna suit what they're looking for in terms of feel. Hole 4 here, guys, 39 feet, a little bit uphill, kind of right to left. We're starting with Link.1. Let's see what we can do. Link.1's kind of been on fire so far, which means I can feel a 3-putt incoming. That's it. That's really good speed. See, like these last few putts with Link.1, I haven't really caught them in between a groove or like on a groove, and so they've come off with very predictable speed. But that's not always what I've noticed. But nonetheless, DF3's got an opportunity. Should start turning. Go! That's pretty good too. The big thing between these putters that I'm noticing is really speed control. You know, I feel like even though I've kind of complained about the grooves a little bit with Link.1, I seem to have a little bit of a better time controlling speed. Hole 5 here, guys. We have 50 feet. This is probably going to be the toughest putt of the day based on what I've seen in terms of the randomized numbers. So downhill, a little bit left to right, but the grain is actually going to the left. So this is low-key a brutal putt. I'm not even going to lie. Starting with DF3. This press pistol grip is pretty interesting. It's a little weird to get used to both the forward press in the grip and the pistol. I would say for most people, I would maybe probably recommend starting with just the regular press grip. Kind of get used to that, and then if you really prefer a pistol feel, then maybe switch over, because getting used to both of these, for me, it seems like it would take some time for sure. But you kind of have to have the press grip because of how much onset this putter has. That was really good. That was absolutely fantastic speed. We'll pop this one in. Something I actually do want to note about the feel that I just realized is on the DF3, the grooves are actually slightly closer together as opposed to the Link.1. So I think for me, I'm getting a little bit more consistent contact on the golf ball, putt over putt, as opposed to the Link.1. That's just something I literally just picked up as I looked at these putters. You know, the biggest thing I noticed with DF3 is it's just more forgiving, especially on these longer putts. If you struggle to find the center of the face, that's where I do really like this. But on the contrary to that, if you prioritize center face contact in your practice and you want something with a little bit more traditional center of gravity, that's where Link.1 seems to be kind of the choice of better players. You know, Grayson Murray won in Hawaii with a Link.1 earlier this year. That was really good too. Really good speed there. You know, and for me, I mean, I do prioritize center face contact in my practice. So that is one of the reasons I do tend to prefer this shape, because I know I have the line angle balancing technology, but in a little bit more of a traditional package in terms of the design itself. So that's kind of why I seem to have preferred Link.1. And so far, it is leading 1 up through 5. Let's head over to hole 6. Right, guys, so now we've got a little bit of a shorter putt here. We've kind of been doing longer putts, longer lag putts to see how these things perform on those putts that require a little bit better speed. Now we're gonna go a little bit shorter on these next couple holes. This is a 9-footer here, so we'll start with Link.1. I have this breaking a little bit left to right. It's probably not far outside the hole. It might even just be left edge, and we'll see how good I can roll it. Yeah, that was really good. I mean, for me personally, I just like having control over the face, and I think that's where Link.1 seems to do a slightly better job. But nonetheless, we'll go ahead and try to knock it in with DF3. So I kind of had this just outside left edge. You know, for me personally, I do prefer the alignment aid of DF3. I do really like this being close to the face. And the problem with the alignment aid on Link.1, if you put it on the top line, is that top line is so thin that it's more like a dash, not a line. So to be honest with you guys, I kind of prefer the alignment aid options of DF3. But I mean, Link.1's working. Son of a gun. All right, Link.1's got a big lead. We're heading over to 7 now. So now we've got a 6-footer here. Link.1's got a 2-up lead with 3 to play. This is not good news for the DF3, but DF3 starting first, and we've got a pretty straight uphill 6-footer. So, I mean, this is a chance for Link.1 to give something away if DF3 can kind of knock one in early, put the pressure on. I got this pretty straight, to be honest. Now it's just a matter of hitting it where I want. All right, kind of sliced across that. You could see all the side spin on the line, but we made it. That's what DF3 needed to do to stay in this match. Now we got Link.1. Same thing. I really think it's straight. Looks like it wants to maybe move slightly left, but I really think it's straight. To me, that one, I pulled it and it stayed straight. So let's see if we can do it. Knock this thing in. Oh, dormy now. Right, guys, hole number 8. Link.1 has a 2-up lead. We've got a pretty tough putt here. It's a downhill left to righter. It's pretty severely downhill. So there's a chance we could see a 3-putt, maybe a make from the DF3 to keep it in it, but we'll see. Link.1's going first, so should be able to get the line from this and try to knock it in with DF3. Gonna break, I feel like, pretty severely, and then it's gonna kind of straighten out at the end. Oh, I firmed that. Sit. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All right, we're gonna leave that. I'll mark it with a T. This is getting interesting. I'm not playing this up for the camera, folks. This is real life putting. This has become an interesting match here. Okay, I did not play enough break there. It sort of straightened out. It was just never high enough to begin with. Oh, it stayed straight. Son of a gun. All right, actually, you know what? It's like a 1.5 feet. We'll finish it. No cheating around here, folks. Knock this thing in. Almost missed an 8-inch putt there. Now, back to Link.1. This is for the win. It is approximately 4 feet-ish. Now, I'm not gonna lie. These are where I feel like I've been kind of sketchy with Link.1. It's definitely not as stable as the DF3, and because of that, you really gotta make sure you find the center of the face. To me, it looks pretty straight. There it is, folks. Link.1 is the champion. This was a fun match. Let's go over my final conclusions with both of these putters here. Right, guys, so there it is. That was a competition / test between the Lab Golf Link.1 and Lab Golf's latest DF3. I hope you enjoyed it. That being said, let's go over my final conclusions on these putters and kind of talk about how they differ from each other. So as far as looks go with these putters, I actually really like both of these just in different ways. But starting with Link.1, obviously this is gonna be a much more traditional design. And while it's not a direct copy of an Answer 2 or a Newport 2 style putter, like I mentioned on the golf course, it's probably as close as Lab could get while still maintaining their technology, and in my opinion, it's a much better looking blade than their first 2 models, the Blad 1 and the B.2. And while Link.1 does have a little bit of onset, it's not nearly as much as the Lab Golf Mallet model. So when you set it behind the golf ball, it looks a lot more traditional, and because, again, it doesn't have as much onset, you can use a normal style grip. You don't need a press grip, which really makes it a much easier switch for the majority of players. Now with DF3, the head size is obviously much more toned down compared to the 2.1. I think that the face depth matches up really nicely to the size of the golf ball. And additionally, you have tons of different alignment options and color options with DF3 to kind of match what you're looking for or need from a looks perspective. And you know, with DF3, because of the slightly larger footprint compared to the Link.1, I find it very easy to line up, down, at address, and actually very confidence inspiring knowing that I have the extra MOI in the back of the head in case I miss center. But I mean, it's still definitely a pretty odd design, and because of how much onset this putter has, it pretty much requires you to use a press grip, which can take a little bit of time to get used to. And so for me, in terms of the looks category, it's pretty much a toss-up. You know, I really do prefer the traditionalness of Link.1, but with DF3, I absolutely love the footprint and the alignment options that they offer with this head. You know, with DF3, I don't really know if there's much they could change to make this better, to be completely honest with you guys. I actually think this is quite well done. The only thing I would like to see is possibly a Link.1 in the future with a thicker top line. I mentioned it on the golf course a few times, but me personally, I love to have a line on the top line so I can match it up really closely to the line of the golf ball. But because this top line is so thin, the line looks more like a dash. It's very, very small, and frankly, it kind of throws off my alignment sometimes. So I think that having a slightly thicker top line on a Link.1 in the future would be absolutely phenomenal. Feel-wise, again, both of these putters are really good, just in different ways. We'll start with Link.1. Now, I mentioned it on the golf course. This putter has a much more forward center of gravity, which I absolutely love. I think it makes it a lot easier for myself personally to control speed. Because of that, I can can really feel the golf ball coming off the face. But that being said, and also something I mentioned on the golf course, these grooves long term I have just really struggled with. I don't know exactly why. It seems like I'm just catching the golf ball inconsistently in terms of face contact, and because of that, my speed as a whole has been pretty inconsistent with the Link.1. Now, I think it has something to do with how wide apart the grooves are. It seems like I'm catching the golf ball either sometimes on a groove or on the edge of a groove, and then sometimes in between the grooves, and just because of that, it kind of throws off my speed out of nowhere. Now, getting into feel with the DF3, obviously this having a much further back center of gravity, I do find it a little bit harder to control speed on longer lag putts, but I actually prefer the feel off the face with DF3 over the Link.1. With DF3, the grooves are a little bit closer together, which I think makes the contact more consistent. The face depth itself is a little bit shallower, and the material has a really nice pop off the face, which are all things that kind of line up exactly to what I'm looking for in terms of feel. So in terms of the feel category, guys, it's a toss-up once again. You know, I prefer the CG depth of the Link.1, but I prefer the feel off the face of the DF3. The last category we are going to get into with these putters is forgiveness. I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. This one is not really close. The Lab Golf DF3 is incredibly stable, and frankly, it pretty much feels like point and shoot on straight and inside the hole putts. And while the Link.1 is not nearly as unforgiving as Lab Golf's earlier blades, it definitely requires a lot more attention to detail and making sure that you have centered strikes at impact. So with all that being said, I think that figuring out which one of these is going to work best for your game just kind of comes down to understanding the type of putter you are. You know, if you're somebody who really prioritizes speed control in terms of putting, Link.1 is awesome because it still has the lab tech, but a much more traditional depth in terms of center of gravity. Now, on the contrary, if you're somebody who really struggles with centered face contact and getting putts started online, especially from short distances, that's where DF3 is phenomenal because it is just so stable through impact. But if I had to choose one to game, I think I would go with the Link.1. Now, the results on the golf course do speak for themselves, but the two main reasons I would choose this is because, in my opinion, it is my job as the player to control center face contact, to get the start direction, and additionally, I believe that speed is king when it comes to putting, and in my opinion, it's a lot easier to nail down speed with the Link.1 because of the more traditional center of gravity depth. But as a whole, guys, I've said it, I'll continue to say it, I absolutely love the tech behind Lab. It absolutely does work, and frankly, it's incredible to hear the stories of pros and amateurs alike switching over to these putters and having pretty immediate success. All right, unfortunately, we got caught in a little rain, so I had to move my setup, but the two things you have to get right with the Lab Golf putters if they're gonna work well for you is first and foremost the line angle. You need to find a consistent plane for the face of the putter to stay square to. It will stay square to the arc it's swung on, but you gotta make sure you get the right arc and line angle to begin with. Additionally, you gotta get the alignment aid right. If the face is staying square to the arc, but it is not aligned properly, you're still not gonna make putts. So make sure you get those two things right, and I think you will have a ton of success with these putters. As a whole, guys, I would love to hear your opinions or takes on these putters if you've had the chance to test them or you are considering them for your bag. So go ahead and drop those in the comments down below. If you have any questions, again, drop it in the comments down below or shoot me a DM via Instagram. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and you click that notification bell so you are notified anytime that we post a new video. Additionally, make sure you're following us on our other social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Always great content on those channels as well. We'll catch you in the next video. Peace.